Welcome to the IVP INdepth podcast, a Safe States Alliance production. I'm your host, Mighty Fine, and I'm thrilled to have you here. This is a space where injury and violence prevention professionals come together to share ideas, spark conversation, and dive into some of the most pressing topics shaping the field. Whether you're here to stay in the loop, find inspiration, or to be part of a community that's about making a difference, you are in the right place. And to kick off our first episode of the fourth season, that's four, I was so thrilled to be able to interview two staff members at Safe States. We have Rich Hamburg, the current executive director, and Sharon Gilmartin, the deputy director. I had the opportunity to talk with them about Rich's retirement and Sharon taking over the mantle as the new executive director of Safe States. Sit back, relax, and take a watch and a listen. I'm even more thrilled and excited about this conversation. So, Rich, I want to start with you. And looking back at your tenure as the executive director of the Safe States Alliance, knowing that you've done a lot in your short time there, but what are some accomplishments or initiatives that you're most proud of and why? And recognizing that you're leaving in one manner, but I'm curious to know how you plan to stay engaged with Safe States after your retirement.
Sure. Well, it's been, it's just been a terrific almost 7 years at Safe States. Sometimes seems a lot longer, sometimes seems a lot shorter, but just proud of what we were able to accomplish as an organization, both organization growth wise and issue wise. I think the first thing that comes to me is the incorporation of health equity into our work, into our strategic plan, leading to elevate the field through an anti-racism and health equity lens has really helped guide us over the last many years, including, informal activities like creating a safe place to discuss health equity issues amongst our members and our staff, seeking a leadership role externally as an organization and bringing other health partners together to create a vision and a call to action for health equity and injury and violence prevention. And, I felt strongly early on, and my colleagues did as well, that, we want to lead, we don't want to follow. And, and you also had to kind of walk the walk as an organization. So first, really looking internally, establishing an anti-racism and health equity work group, having literally dozens of conversations on a weekly basis over time at the staff level, just to talk about all the things that were happening, that we wanted to react to and just get a feel of where everyone was. So I think that's one key thing. A second is, I've always been externally focused in establishing us as more visible in the field of injury and violence prevention, expanding our communications, our outreach to a broader spectrum of partners, literally thousands of partners in public health writ large and injury and violence prevention, identifying opportunities to lead the field through partnerships and thought leadership. And at the same time, have been really pleased to see the growth of our membership, which has grown substantially. Our staffing has grown, our resources. And I think, important key that more professionals in a variety of sectors have found a home at Safe States. And that's always the best thing that we hear. And we're reminded of it on an annual basis at our annual meetings, our annual conferences, of just how
I always say it's a family reunion,
It's a family reunion. So if nothing else, and those that know me, going to other people's conferences, I do my best work in the hallways. So, if as wonderful as our presentations are, still a lot of what goes on in the hallways. And last thing I'll say is prioritizing advocacy and policymaker education. I mean, the bottom line is it takes resources. We need to raise investments for injury and violence prevention. I'm very proud of our publishing of a blueprint for a national injury and violence prevention program and a vision for a nation free of injury and violence prevention. a formal statement, that we promoted, on a grand scale, in the community with other public health partners, with policymakers, just, still having to explain why these investments are important, why the work that we're doing is important. And, I think that's, people that know me, my background is advocacy, and I've just been excited to see our growth, leaving with multiple full-time advocacy staff, and we all know there's going to be some threats to public health moving forward. So you need to be in it to win it, so to speak. And I'm glad that we've made those investments and have really engaged our members and partners.
Absolutely. And I can say, as a member of Safe States, and I've been a member for quite some time, the accomplishments and initiatives that you mentioned, it was evident to us. I'll speak for members at this moment, but I think it certainly was evident to us, those changes and the shifts that you mentioned. So kudos to you for your leadership in those areas, because it was very visible to us as members, and we appreciated those shifts as well. And thinking about membership and engagement, how are you going to stay engaged with Safe States once you're out of here? How do we keep you locked in?
Oh, my colleagues, members, partners, they can take this as a positive or negative, but I'll still be around, always interested. We'll be one of our first retiree members. So I may pop in on a few calls here and there, and I want to stay engaged. On the advocacy side, and I'll give my opinion. And now that they can take it or leave it, and that's the only change. But I love to see this organization succeed. It's in great hands to continue to succeed and grow. And I've been a public health advocate for many years in a variety of areas, and now totally focused on injury and violence prevention. But just want to help my colleagues see the bigger picture and figure out where I think our role should be. But those who are in leadership positions moving forward, more than ready to fight any challenges that come forward, whether or not I put my 2 cents in.
Well, I'm sure your 2 cents will be appreciated. And you mentioned the organization being in good hands, so it's a great way to transition to you, Sharon, and ask you first a hearty congratulations to you, very well deserved. And thinking about what Rich just shared, or just in totality, what aspects of his legacy do you feel inspired to continue or build upon as you assume the role as the executive director of Safe States?
Well, thank you, Mighty. And Rich, I hope you know that you just volunteered yourself to create and lead our retiree SIG. So thank you for that.
Round of applause.
Yeah, Rich is leaving a legacy, which I think is very inspirational in a couple different areas, many of which he really just hit on, right? He has advocated for a very strong, inclusive community with a culture of vocal support for key issues. And those are things that are very near and dear to my heart. Regarding inclusivity, one of the aspects of his work that I'm particularly inspired to build upon is just that commitment to fostering collaboration and really creating those spaces where diverse voices are heard. I think Rich truly understands, and I deeply believe that impact comes from bringing people together rather than fiercely guarding resources, which then honors different perspectives. And that is the beauty that really drives change. So as I'm stepping into the role of executive director, I absolutely consider that the foundation of everything. And then I want to expand on that. I want to continue building strong partnerships. I want to amplify additional voices that we haven't yet heard in our field. But of course, make sure that our organization remains, I hate all the buzzwords, but agile is the first one that comes to mind. It's just very responsive to the needs that we're hearing of the community, however you want to define that, whether that's IVP practitioners, whether that's the folks in the actual communities, whether those are our partner networks. We want to be here and be a part of that. One of the other things that I admire about Rich and will plan to build upon is his focus on empowering the team and really instilling that sense of ownership in the work that we do. This has similarly been a philosophy of mine, and I feel very strongly just how important it is to nurture that spirit of trust and empowerment with the folks that we work with. I mean, we are so fortunate, and I will sing this from the rooftops, to have this incredible staff at Safe States making things happen behind the scenes. And then we also have our incredible, yes, applause for all. And that extends to our members and our partners. I mean, we really have the cream of the crop there. And we have people who are just working so tirelessly to advance the field and cultivate change on a daily basis. And so to me, these are our greatest assets. And I intend to just elevate and advocate on their behalf and in conjunction with everybody else, because this is truly one of the greatest strengths that we possess as a field. And I guess that really leads to the other area that Rich mentioned, and I think I mentioned a little bit earlier, which is Rich's legacy, that vocal advocacy and the support. I think we haven't had a year go by where we don't have dozens of pictures of Rich on the Hill, just being an unwavering advocate for all things injury and violence prevention. And I would love to honor that by staying forward thinking and steadfast and just really tireless in that support of IVP. And whether that's on the Hill or whether that's with our stakeholders or our partners or beyond. I think the best way to honor his work is by building on it. And I hope to push those boundaries, but still really upholding our values as an organization and just constantly looking for ways to do better for the people that we serve. So there's a lot of good stuff there. It's big shoes to fill, Mighty.
I know, but I think you're totally up for the job. And thinking about that and building upon his legacy and the foundation that he's added to, what are your plans for your first 100 days in this role?
Oh, goodness. Yes. Well, I hope to host an event at the White House with national press. No, I have had the good fortune to serve this organization for a decade now. And that has given me a deep familiarity with our work and our members and our partners. But I'll say the but there, that there is always time to learn. And when you are sitting in different seats, you hear different things. So first and foremost, my priority is definitely going to be to listen, to learn. I really plan to dedicate a significant portion of my time in the first few months to listening and sort of checking those assumptions and dedicating really fresh ears and eyes to things that are seemingly familiar. So I want to hear from as many people as possible, you included, Mighty. What are our strengths? Where are the areas where we can grow? What opportunities do you see? And really, most importantly, how can Safe States support your work and what do you need from us? So that certainly means having one-on-one conversations with whether it's staff, members, partners, stakeholders, just to hear about their insights, their experiences. I will be reaching out to many people, but I'll say it here on the podcast so everyone can hold me to it. I welcome anyone's thoughts, and I'm an email away, very much an open virtual door policy. The other area I would say for certain is our collaborative relationships. We all know in public health, and especially in injury, that collaboration is at the heart of everything that we do. And Safe States has built and grown right with so many partners in so many spaces. And that carries across the advocacy space and the research realm and different practice settings and different public health topics. I'm a relationship person at heart, so I'm really looking forward to reconnecting with some of the familiar partners, but then also learning about new partners and really getting to think strategically about how we make the most of our collective resources and energy to move the field forward. Finally, I would be remiss not to note that we are moving into a new political era with our new administration.
Yes, we are.
So one of the things that I really want to prioritize is having my finger on that pulse of the work that our members and partners are doing, so that I have those stories queued up and ready to go as I go to have conversations with our stakeholders and can really represent our field well. With all the changes taking place, I think there are a lot of ideas swirling about what may or may not happen, and we're not here to hypothesize. But what I will say is that I see an opportunity here. This is an opportunity for us to put a spotlight on the value of our field and how all communities benefit from our work. And
yes,
I know it sounds bizarre to say, but I'm kind of amped up. I'm ready. Like, let's get to work. We're not just
I
defending.
agree.
Yeah.
It'll be a real test. And to your point about being nimble and flexible and adaptive, I think this era will showcase how well we're at bending and shifting and refocusing, but also galvanizing support for issues that fall under the IVP umbrella.
I think that's exactly, and I'm glad you showcase is exactly the right word, right? Because we've talked a lot about defending the work of our field, but it's not just defense. We're there. Like, let's be out in front and proudly show off the strength of our community.
Absolutely.
So I know that was a long answer, but
no, but I think
listening, building relationships, let's get strategic. I think we have a great history behind us, and we have all the opportunity ahead of us.
Love that. Thinking about opportunity, and I'm a glass half full kind of guy, silver lining. I like to lean into optimism and asset-based thinking. So with that, what's one hope or series of hopes that you both have for safe states in the future? Sort of the immediate, but long term is fine to reflect on that as well. And how do you think this transition of you assuming this new role, Sharon, will help in supporting any hopes or aspirations that you have for the organization?
Well, I can go first, and then Rich, I would love to hear your thoughts on this too. I think my biggest hope for our future is to continue to create this truly inclusive and collaborative space, and really continue to expand that consideration of who and what constitutes IVP. I would love to be in a place where affordable housing advocates and educators are considered prevention practitioners just as much as our folks who are sitting in state government or local government, where research and practice align seamlessly, and where we're not just reacting to funding opportunities, but we're really sort of strategically putting together efforts for those upstream factors, and then that can be sustained across funding sources or political priorities, so that we don't feel as vulnerable. And I think this transition right now is an opportunity to take a step back, reflect on how far we've come in this regard, because we've made a ton of progress in this, and that's really exciting. But then we can also thoughtfully grow. I think our members are such models for creating and maintaining these deep connections to the communities that they serve. And so I see the goal of Safe States as to establish and maintain those same types of connections across our own communities. And for us to really serve as the connector and make sure that the professionals, whether it's a community, a state, a region, are working in coordination, and where everyone has their own piece of the work, but by fostering these strong relationships between all the different players in a given area, the work is additive, and just really responsive to the needs. I'll take a break. I have some more thoughts, but Rich, you take it first.
Yeah, Rich, I'm curious to see as you're going out but remaining engaged, what are you hopeful for the association?
Well, definitely the ability to continue to be flexible. And Mighty, you use my word nimble. Nimble, I am fined $1 every time I say that. So there's $1, Sharon. And, I think the importance is to adapt to the oft-changing professional, political, technological environment in a way that leads rather than follows. Before saying a couple things about Sharon, I'd be remiss if I didn't, double down on the importance of our staff and our volunteers. It's just a great staff. I mean, they're so smart and they're prolific. And there you go. And in my on the accomplishment side overall, I didn't even go into detail on just how prolific we have been and our staff has been at putting out recommendations and direction to the field, and it's quite amazing what we've been publishing the last several years. I think that has geometrically expanded, including some great new thoughts and directions, and then being smart enough to revisit recommendations from decades ago and to look at them through a different lens, sometimes an equity focused lens when we as we move forward, we just need to really always revisit and rethink what we said 10, 15 years ago, particularly as we set standards for the field. And our volunteers are terrific. I mean, I've been with membership organizations. I spent a lot of time with no members, which is kind of fun too, in its own way. And stepping back into this group of truly engaged, fun to work with, always looked at as a strong staff volunteer partnership. I've had, we've had wonderful leaders for the organization, but the board, but also the committee, just the so-called rank and file members that have expertise that we need to call upon. And so I would hate not to highlight the importance of our membership. And then Sharon, Sharon's uniquely qualified to be our next leader. She's steeped on how best to maintain our leadership, provide the resources that the field needs, and to lead what is an expanding organization. We're multiple times larger than we had been, just a handful of years ago. And that's a good thing, but that's also a burden, because a lot of people depend on us, and our staff, our members, and now a more diverse set of funders. So in this past year, we took on a lot of programmatic responsibility, and that's been Sharon's place to definitely shine, and so that's still going to be important. But she'll be able to balance the inside outside role of an executive director. So and it's not all about expansion, and it's at this point we need to accomplish some extensive goals that we have, while these threats to public health and injury and violence prevention are going to be out there for the foreseeable future. But hey, we do great things. The field does great things. It's important to everyone's health, life, families, and I think over time, more and more policymakers will come to understand just how important the work that we do is.
Absolutely. And it's just, again, kudos to the Safe States team, because as you're growing now, but it's a relatively smaller organization. But when you look at the impact and the type of work that you all do, folks less familiar with the organization, I think they would be surprised to see how small of a team is that's behind making all these.
That's always the greatest compliment.
Right?
I did not realize how small you were. That's all somebody has to say, and get a big smile from both of us.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And change comes with a myriad of reactions, consequences, etc. And so as you're changing, Sharon, I'm curious, like, what are you, and you've alluded to us throughout the conversation thus far, but what's one thing you're most excited about being in this role?
I think the thing that I'm most excited about is, I mentioned I've been with Safe States for 10 years. And so I have loved the trajectory that we've been on as an organization. And I feel like my fingerprints are on all the different parts of our organization. I'm excited to really get to put my own stamp on things as an executive director and build on this foundation that Rich has laid. I think my team is sick of me hearing about this, but here's this idea that I can't get out of my head. And I think I alluded to it earlier, but I just have this idea of this ecosystem, right? This injury and violence prevention ecosystem in which all of our efforts, no matter where we sit, no matter what our roles are, align and they fit into this bigger picture, right? So that within a given jurisdiction, we are this well-oiled machine. And I think that this comes with expanding our definition of injury and violence prevention as we look more upstream, as we include more voices. I think this happens. So one of the things that I really want to do is map out this ecosystem and give us this destination where I want us to head. And that is something that I am very excited to work on. I'm really excited to pull in more partners. I love the conversations that are taking place.
Count me in. Count me in.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Mighty, you just volunteered yourself, and that's my favorite kind of activity. Doesn't it sound fun to put that
It does.
together?
It really does. It really does.
And I think that will help because, we have a lot of people who are either doing injury and violence prevention work who don't associate their work as prevention work. Yes. Or we have people who are kind of falling into the field and they don't necessarily understand how what they do contributes to this bigger goal and this bigger picture. So for everybody it would just be my dream for everybody to come in and understand that this is their home and that they're a part of this. And, this is this community that we have. So that is probably the thing I am most jazzed about.
Okay. I can totally get behind that for sure. And speaking of you being jazzed and being ready and up for the challenge, Rich, I'm really curious to hear from you as you're handing over the torch, so to speak. What parting words of wisdom do you have for Sharon as she takes on this new role?
Oh, that's perfect. That's my new role moving forward is just words of wisdom. So yeah, I'll start now. How much time do we have? So I would say continue to grow and diversify our resources to meet the needs of an ever-changing field. AI, there's just so much we need to wrap our hands around. So there's short and long-term opportunities and challenges. To paraphrase the oft-used proverb, I'll butcher it up. There'll be some lemons that are coming our way, as we talked earlier. The key is to turn those roadblocks into lemonade. And as a cockeyed optimist, albeit with a good dose of reality, I know Sharon already is committed to maintaining a similar outlook. Being realistic, but forward thinking. And in times like we face now, I do worry that there are organizations, there are people that are in full defense mode. It's nothing good is going to happen, and we're going to protect what we have. And I don't think that's the my words of wisdom is that's not the right approach. We maintain dedication to our mission, to our members. It's the long game, as they say. And and I think the last thing that also people are tired of hearing me say of late is, sometimes when things seem to be the most at threat or the most threatened, that you accomplish a lot of good things. It's just the way the world works. When everything is lining up for you and you're ready for the world to be your oyster, it doesn't always happen. But on the flip side, if there's some challenges, you end up being surprised. And so an organization, my final wisdom is just be prepared for those opportunities that you may not anticipate. And this organization, our members, our field, will accomplish great things this year, next year, the next 4 years, the next 10 years. I'm confident of that, and I'm confident that Sharon's ready to lead the organization in taking advantage of those opportunities or creating opportunities that others didn't think existed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's been a pleasure chatting with you both. And obviously, I've been in your company previously, and always a pleasure to share space with you. And you all know that Safe States is very near and dear to my heart. But before we close out, I want to open the floor to either of you if there's anything else you would like to share with our listeners about this transition.
I first of all, Mighty, you have been a dedicated member as long as I've been at Safe States, so I imagine longer. So there's probably a legacy membership somewhere along the way for you as well. First of all, just a heartfelt thank you to Rich. It's been such a pleasure to work with you over these last years, and you have obviously left an indelible mark on the organization and on the membership and on the team. And I'm deeply appreciative for all that you've done for us and for me personally. So thank you for that. To our members and our friends, I'd just like to thank you all for the opportunity and for the work that you do. And I would love for you to know that I'm here to serve you. I mentioned earlier, virtual open door anytime. Please reach out, just an email or a phone call away. And I look forward to all of the wonderful things that are ahead for our organization and for our field.
Absolutely.
And in homage to the recent release of Wicked, big secret, I'm going to share the wizard behind the curtain, Sharon Gilmartin, the wizard behind and in front of the curtain now. And Mighty, I got to say, I think it was 7 years ago when I was considering the position. I was looking at the list of board members, and I see Mighty Fine as a board member. I said, that's an organization I can work with. It seems like a fun organization, and I'm glad the relationship that we've had and built, and definitely want to stay in touch. And you've done a wonderful job as someone in a leadership position for another organization. You're a perfect example of the kind of volunteer leaders that we have with our association, and that's been kind of a wonderful thing over the years where we're looking at leadership for different positions, and I'm like, hey, half these people are leaders of other national organizations. I think that's a strong vote of confidence for Safe States that everyone's got a day job and significant day jobs, and for our volunteers, like yourself and many others, to have time to devote to an organization like ours has been so rewarding over the years, and I know that'll continue. So best of luck to Safe States, best of luck to Sharon, to Lisa Roth, our president, and I will fill out my my retiree membership in a few days.
I love it. I love it. I think that's a perfect way to end. Which you pledging to fill out your retiree membership information, and certainly, as I said, speaking for the members, being a part of Safe States is as equally as rewarding as is for staff. It certainly is for us volunteers as well, and so I've been sort of tapped in for so long. But again, just want to thank you both for your service to injury and violence prevention, obviously to the Safe States Alliance. And it's been a pleasure talking with you today, as always. And I'm sure folks who are listening in found this equally as exciting and engaging. So thank you.
Thanks, Mighty.
Thanks.
That's a wrap for this episode of IVP In-Depth, and thanks to you for watching. A big thank you also to our sponsor, the American Trauma Society, for supporting this conversation and their overall commitment to injury and violence prevention. Learn more about the fantastic work that they're doing by checking out their website at www.amtrauma.org. And if you're not already a member of Safe States, now is a perfect time to join. Be part of a community working to create a safer, healthier community for everyone. Check out our website, safestates.org, for a range of resources, including toolkits, training opportunities, and other useful information designed to support your work in the field. And lastly, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode, whether that's Google Podcasts, Apple, or Spotify. And while you're there, leave us a comment and let us know how we're doing. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. But until then, stay safe and injury-free.